Hey everyone, how you doing today? So I'm really lucky to have Chris Williams with us today. How you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing good, Zuber. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I met Chris Williams about a year ago now. We actually met over a transaction. Turns out he actually was in the hospital, as he'll just tell you in a minute, having his baby girl, as I recall, becoming the third child after a set of twins, and he actually turned a property over that I call Little Nevada, and that's how we got started. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, yeah, you got it. It's a good deal.
Excellent. So I like to start these videos by actually highlighting, what you're doing in your business today. I know you call yourself a real estate entrepreneur, which I love. Why don't you tell everybody what that is and what you're doing in your business today?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been full-time in real estate since 2014. So, just a hair over 4 years. So, like I told you, entrepreneur, I say entrepreneur because I look at this not transactionally, but really as a business and as systems. And, I'm always trying to take a mindset of not just getting to the next deal, but looking at a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. Um, so yeah, I not only wholesale and fix and flip, but I'm also a real estate agent as well. So for every opportunity that crosses my path, I try to look at it from as many different avenues as possible. And that's, do I list it as an agent if that's a possibility with the seller? Do I buy it as a fix and flip? Do I buy it as a rental? Do I take it down and wholesale it to someone else? Or do I need to refer it to somebody else who can maybe do a better job and I get a referral fee? So just always looking at it from as many avenues as possible and not just trying to be, a one-trick pony or having to say no to deals because I don't know how to say no because it doesn't fit into a certain model, but being able to look at it from different perspectives.
Yeah, that's great. I think one question we should address, because there's so much to unpack there that I have notes on, but let's just hit this one because I get it a lot is, should I go get my license, right? You have your license, you shared that. Truth be told, one of the things I did after I retired is went and got my license. I'll share my reason in a moment. Why don't you share yours and your thoughts on a license, pro, con, yes, no?
Sure. I think it all depends on deals. If your goal for income is maybe, low six figures, having a license can actually be really beneficial for sure. If you're like myself or maybe some other people where your goal is, my 5-year goal is $10 million a year. If I was focused on basically playing realtor in a sense, where I'm showing people houses, meeting with people, doing all the paperwork, it can literally be a distraction. And so that is something that I have been actually slowly phasing out over the last couple of years. And I'm at the point right now where I do about one transaction a month, and it's mainly from referrals. It's from close friends and family, people from my church who want to go buy a house. And it's like, I love them,
Yeah.
already close with them. So I spend a little bit more time with them, help them, and, yeah, I'll make, a few grand on that. So the thing is the license transactions, they take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and they have a really low return
Sure.
unless you're talking about price, higher price transactions where you can make, 15, 20, $30,000 commissions. But in our market, average home value is at 230 or something like that. So you're talking maybe a $5,000 commission after a broker split. So where a lot of our focus is, as far as the flip, would be this $100,000 to $200,000 houses.
Yeah.
If I were to be taking a lot of commission from there, you're still talking the net 3,000 or 4,000. In the long run, that could definitely be a distraction. So a pro is, I've noticed there's a little bit more professionalism. I seem to have a little bit more respect with sellers when they know that I'm licensed by the state,
Hmm.
and legally I have to reference that, and they know that I have to work within those guidelines. Another pro is I can kind of move out of working as an agent and move in more into a referral. So, if I'm referring several transactions out a month, I could be creating an additional flow of income,
Hmm.
maybe grand, maybe 5 or 6 grand for deals that I don't have to work, but maybe someone else is working. So that could be an additional form of income. There's also the possibility, again, thinking as an entrepreneur, I could open my own brokerage. I do qualify for my broker's license, or I can go, franchise with another company, have a few agents under me to kind of work hand in hand with my investment company. So, and those are things we're exploring, actively exploring right now.
Yeah.
And we're thinking about that next couple couple of years or sooner. But again, it depends on goals. So if my goal wasn't bigger like that, but let's say I just even wanted to make high six figures, I could see having a license could be a distraction. So it just really depends on again, your personality type, what your goals are, your long-term vision.
Yeah. For me, getting my license was, I guess, something I always thought I had to do, if I'm honest with myself, right? I've been in real estate investing now, being a buy and hold guy for almost 16 years. And then when you kind of retire from that busy W-2 life, you sort of feel like you've got nothing else to do. So getting a license was just something I could put on the list to sort of check the box. For me, I never represent sellers or buyers. I won't do that, right? Mm-hmm. To your point, time is my currency, right? And I thought that was a really nice twist, right? Where people should consider time. However, how I use my license, I buy a lot of stuff. And if I'm going to buy out of the MLS, I might as well use my license. And I use it like a cashback credit card, right? I basically get up 1% cash back from everything I buy. Because again, I don't do the paperwork. I basically partner with another licensed agent. They do the paperwork. And then there's the broker's piece. So roughly I get about 1% of the deal. And hey, if it's a cashback credit card for stuff I was going to buy already, go for it. So that's what my license means to me. I think you've heard now, everyone, getting your license can help. It can get you to some income level. But I think the point about time is not talked about enough, because time is the constraint for most people. And I thought how you walked through that in your bigger vision was awesome. So I appreciate that. One more thing on what you're doing now, because the other thing I noted and sort of circled is you look at every lead that comes in and you're willing to treat leads differently, but you try to treat all leads somehow, some way. And I think we have to unpack that a little bit, because I hear too many people say, I'm a flipper, I'm a wholesaler, I'm buy and hold. And to your point, that boxes them in. And it causes you to miss leads. So why don't you just hit on that some more? Because your experience in that is awesome. And maybe an example or two would be great if you could think of any.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what's crazy is, like I said, we're both licensed. So a lot of times I'm looking at the MLS, I'm running comps. I see other properties that sold. And what's crazy is I'll see a fixer upper that an agent listed sold to another cash buyer who was represented by, another agent. So they earned about 2.5-3% on like a $70,000 deal. That fix and flipper, put $20,000-$30,000 into it and sold it for $160,000, $170,000.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there scratching my head like you're in an industry where making $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 check is not that hard to do.
Yeah.
But because your vision was like this, you only make. And to me, like, that just like blows my mind. Like, you have so many different avenues that you could take to make a lot of money. And so just looking at it from one avenue, you're going to miss on so many opportunities. So when I see agents who do that, I'm thinking like, okay, you could have wholesaled it. You could have fixed and flipped it. Like, you're already in the industry, going to people and saying, hey, this is what I do. I have this opportunity. We can buy it for 70. We've got to put 30 into it. Do you have $100,000? We can go in at 50-50, split it. We'll each make 20 grand or whatever that's going to be. But most agents are taught and trained to think like realtors, and it's very hard to get them out of that realtor box. So I see that all the time. I mean, literally every month I see that, and I scratch my head like, man, you could have done so many different things. And of course, not everybody knows. You don't know what you don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
So why don't we just hit one more example, right? Sometimes timing is everything, right? Sometimes you would go into a deal and go, hey, if you had nothing else going on, you would flip it, which is, I think, what you would have done with that house I called Little Nevada in the introduction. But you had other life events come up, and you know what? You're like, hey, this guy's been bothering me for a month. Sorry about that. Why don't I take a little now so I can focus on what's important to me? And then we'll see what he does and if he's some guy I want to be connected with or not. Because I'm sure that was something you were thinking, and rightly so. But why don't you talk about that kind of unique situation and the beauty of having multiple options?
Definitely, yeah. Well, when that lead came through, once kind of the dust settled, and I was able to really run comps, look at pictures, and all that. What I did was I kind of calculated, if I were to buy it, how much do I have to put into it? What can I sell it for? You know, and I know you and I, our flipping formula is different because of your type of buyers you're dealing with, whereas I would be dealing with retail buyers who are paying market value. You're kind of dealing with those turnkey buyers who are willing to pay more based on what you can give them in that turnkey model. So I looked at it and, you know, based on what I'm paying in private money or partnerships, you know, I was thinking I could make 30 grand in probably a 4-month time. You know, once we get those squats out, which you were able to do quickly, once we get it fixed up, put it on the market, you know, we've got that FHA window we got to work with, get a buyer, close on it. Or, you know, maybe I can make X amount. So maybe I can make X amount, which was like $20,000 or more in a short time by just wholesaling. So I sent it to you kind of as a test, and it's like, hey, if I can get $20,000 or more right now and close in 2 weeks, I'll do that versus making 30,000 over 4 months. Because once you factor in your time value, that $20,000 wholesale far outweighs that $30,000 profit in a fix and flip. So I do that too. I mean, every time I get a contract signed, I'll go back to the drawing board and I look, you know, what is my time in, money out versus a fix and flip and a wholesale. So, you know, I don't have rentals yet, but I still look at every deal. If I were to turn this into a rental, where would I be? And then I do the same thing on fix and flip, a wholesale and a wholesale now too. So there are some we can buy, literally trash out, spend $1,000, $2,000 and immediately list it on the market. So that is an option as well that we're looking at too.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get into this in follow-on section, but I'll just put it here. You know that the long-term way to wealth, not high income, but wealth is buy and hold, owning some rentals.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. We'll talk about that later. So this has been great. Lots of focus on time, lots of treating leads differently based on your real estate entrepreneur. I think there's a lot to unpack there. Why don't we rewind the clock and see if we can't paint a vision of Chris Williams before he was successful and he was the real estate entrepreneur we see in front of us now. Where were you in the beginning? Kind of paint that vision of how you got started, any trials and tribulations, you know, any of that stuff, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. So I really got started in the beginning of 2010. So it's just over 8 years ago, almost 9, actually. We're right at the end of the year, 2018. So, you know, I had always had an interest in real estate, but never really did anything. And, at the time I was cleaning pools. It was a real great company. I actually loved my job. You know, I wasn't making a ton amount of money, but it was a really cool job. And I remember just realizing, like, I'm not really going to go far here. I would really love to be an entrepreneur, would really love getting in real estate. So just when I'd get home from my work, I would just Google how to make money in real estate. So I kind of heard about fix and flipping. Again, this was late 2009, early 2010. And then stumbled across wholesaling on YouTube. And it was just this crazy concept, you know. I think it was, I forget the flip man, I forget his name. And he basically quickly explained wholesaling, like, hey, you can find a seller who wants to sell for 30,000, and you find a cash buyer who wants to buy for 33,000, and then you make that $3,000, you know, that $3,000 commission, and you don't have to put up any money or anything like that. And it's just, I heard that, my mind was blown. And I was like, man, I don't have to buy properties, you know, I could do that every month. So I started calling agents, started calling investors, posting on Craigslist, and ran into a gentleman who was about a year or two older than me, just getting started, kind of same place. We had similar goals, similar values, and we're just like, hey, rather than competing, let's just figure this out together, you know. So we became business partners and quit my job in March of 2010, and we were full-time together for about 2 years. And you know, we never really had any education. We just kind of swung for the fences and saw what happened. We were doing about 14, 15 deals a year in wholesale, and they were pretty good wholesales. And then we had a couple fix and flips in there too. And at the end of 2011, there's nothing personal, but I just felt like it was time for me to go on my own. So 2011, I went on in about December. So going into completely being on my own in 2012. And at that time, I had never negotiated any deal. I was the marketing man and numbers man. So I was managing the marketing and running the numbers on deals and figuring out what we could do with it. And then he was going in, he was the closer. He was the salesperson. Yeah. He had years of sales experience, and he was really good at it, really good at talking with people, really good at building rapport. So when it came to me being on my own, man, I fumbled left and right. And, still to this day, I remember, my phone ringing and me just like shaking, shaking and so fearful of like, I can't answer this phone. And I remember my phone ringing and me being so fearful, picking my phone up and throwing it across the room because I just like, it was almost like there was death on the other end of that line,
Oh,
even though I was just so fearful. And, I still tried and I did my marketing. And in 2012, there were so many of those like, shiny objects. So people were talking about bulk REO. They were talking about lease
oh
options and
yeah.
this. And I was trying to learn everything. And what was cool is like I was actually getting in contact with hedge funds and big banks and kind of getting my foot in the door for a lot of things, but never really making any progress anywhere. So I burnt through, a few grand in savings really quickly. 2012, basically lost almost everything I had. In that year, my cell phone probably got turned off 4 or 5 times. My car went into default probably 3 or 4 times. Ended up basically living on a couple credit cards just to pay my bills, and really felt defeated. Ended up just basically kind of giving up, and but only really doing enough action to just convince myself that I was still taking action, that I'm still in the game,
Yeah.
but not getting anywhere. And literally not making a dollar or a dime in real estate. Started kind of taking some odd and end side jobs, um, like working on people's houses. I kind of worked a couple of jobs for a contractor, worked as a little handyman here and there just to kind of create some income. And then late 2012, I ended up getting a job as an office assistant for a local flipper and redeveloper developer. He's kind of into everything here, bigger name now. And in a couple months, I worked my way to project manager. And at the time, they were probably buying, 80, 90 houses a year.
Wow.
Houses to apartment complexes, to commercial, all that stuff. So worked as a project manager for about a year and a half. And in that time, I did really give up on my dreams and my goals. And like I said earlier, I would take some action. Maybe I put up some bandit signs, maybe I'd send out some letters, but it was enough to make me feel good that I didn't give up. It was trying to convince myself that I didn't give up, even though I really did. In my heart, I gave up. And then in June 2013, I ended up asking my girlfriend to marry me, and of course she said yes because she's my wife today.
Yes.
So I remember late June, probably engaged for 2 weeks. I was driving, and I was just thinking about all the bills I had to pay. I was thinking about the wedding coming up. I was thinking about my car. My car was in and out of the shop literally every month. And every time it was like $1,000, $1,500 every time. The German car was not cheap, at all. And I was just complaining. And I couldn't get it. I could not get the car to pass smog. Every time I'd take it in to get something fixed, all that did was that took care of some issue that then revealed another issue. Some sensor was off, something was off. So every month, in and out of the shop, I was driving, I was complaining, and I don't know if I mentioned, but I am a Christian, I'm a believer. So I was even just like grumbling and praying to God, like,
Yeah.
Lord, I feel like all these dreams and these goals in my heart, this vision that you've given me, but I feel like I'm seeing the complete opposite, and I feel like everything I try, I'm failing at this. And just really complaining. And I remember at the time I drank energy drinks every day, and there was this particular star that they discontinued now, but they had it then. I think it's like some acai berry or something like that. I really wanted it, and just in my angry state, like, this is gonna make me feel better. So I went to a gas station that normally has it. They were out. I went to like a 7-Eleven that normally has it. They were out. I went to a Save Mart that normally has it. They were out. And then finally I went to one other place and they had it. I think it was another grocery store. And every time a store didn't have it, I just got madder and madder and angry, driving faster and driving more aggressive. Like, oh, this is so stupid. And I remember finally getting it, going to the car, sitting down, and just cracking it open, taking a drink. And it's just like there's a sigh of relief. Like, yes, finally I can get what I want, And it's like right in that moment, it just hit me, and it's like, man, I feel like I've hit these obstacles in my life, dreams and my life goals, and even in pursuing what I feel like I was created for. Like, I've hit obstacles, and I've just given up. I hit an obstacle, I give up. But here, I just stopped at nothing. I stopped at nothing to get a little $3 drink that's not going to do much for me, only going to provide a little bit of energy for like an hour before I'm tired again. And it literally might even kill me, you know? I'm just wasting. So if I'm willing to stop at nothing for a little drink, why can't I do the same when it comes to real estate? And so this
Yeah.
is what I said. I said, okay, you know, just praying. I was like, Lord, I feel like this is where you called me, but this is what I'm going to do. I don't want to waste any more time. So I'm going to give it 30 days. 30 days, I'm going to go all out. And in 30 days, I have to line up $10,000 or more. And if I don't do that, I'm just going to hang up my hat and say, okay, real estate isn't for me. Maybe now it's time to go find a career somewhere else. So for 30 days, I literally gave it my all. So, you know, I worked 8 to 5. So I'd get in my office at 7:30. I'd plan out my day, see who I needed to call. Every break I was on the phone. My lunch break, I was on the phone. Sometimes I wouldn't even eat. I'd clock out at 5, and I'd stay in the office till 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And within 30 days, I lined up 15 grand in
Awesome.
wholesale fee. And it was just like, yeah, this is it. Like pure confirmation. Like, yo, if I just, you know, put my mind to being determined and sticking with it, I know I can get it done. So did a few more deals in 2013, and coming into the end of 2013 in December, I just made the decision that 2014 I wanted to go full time and build a business. So wrote out a plan and a goal. And it was amazing. We have a full time job doing 2, 3, 4 deals a month.
Yeah.
Sticking with it. And so come March of 2014, I went full time, and you know, had a lot of up and downs since then. You know, 2014, I closed 33 deals in my first year full time on my own. You know, 2015, 2016 was less than that, but more profit. 2017, and of course, at the end of 2016, November was when our twins were born, which was a huge shock in time and effort. So
Yeah.
really went down to part hours. I mean, maybe 2017, I probably averaged 10 hours a week,
Yeah.
but we were still able to bring in six figures, and we were able to hire our first employee in the summer of 2017. And she was part-time for a year before we moved her to full-time this past month. So 2018 has been absolutely amazing. This has been a stellar banner month. Banner year. And, you know, we joined a mastermind in June, moved our part-time employee to full-time in October, hired another full-time employee. So we're here in the office. We have 2 full-time employees. My wife's office is next door. She does a lot with our books. And then I'm here now too. So we're focusing a lot on wholesaling, trying to expand on the flipping end. You know, just having a lot of experience with the project management and then doing some of our own flips, but we really want to expand in that area as well.
That's very cool. I think I know what your title of your video is going to be. It's Chris William, Never Give Up, or Never Give Up on Your Dream, something like that. I think that.
Never give up, never surrender.
There you go. There you go. All right. So as we sort of round this out, I want to sort of fast forward. So we sort of educated everybody on what you're doing now, your origin story, but you've already sort of painted this vision or dream of $10 million. That I wrote that down, circled it, we're going back there. So why don't you paint the vision of where Chris Williams sees himself in 3 to 5 years, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'm writing this down too. So you have to forgive me. I think I woke up kind of feeling like I'm getting a cold. So if I get raspy or nasally.
No, you're all good.
Kind of, yeah. So going back to kind of talking about looking at this business from a business perspective, like I don't consider myself just a wholesaler or just a flipper, just an agent. Like I am a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I have big dreams, goals. I want to make a big impact in this world. So with that, I believe in reaching as high and as big as possible. So my 5-year goal is $10 million a year in revenue, and preferably really profitable revenue. You know, I don't want to spend $9 million to make $10 million. That would be kind of pathetic.
Yeah,
but,
that'd be bad. That's bad.
Yeah. You know, so we're mostly based in Fresno right now, but I'm looking at being able to expand into different markets every year to see how can we replicate what we're doing. You know, we really haven't had to spend too much money or too much marketing to get good traction. So I want to really look at my business from almost a scientific perspective of breaking everything down to, you know, the decimal of what we do, and figure out how do we replicate that in other markets. So, I don't have to go over to the next market and do 100 deals a year. I can do 30, average, $20,000-$30,000 a deal, and then move over to the next market and do 30, 40 deals a year. So that's what we're looking at as far as expansion. I put 10 million on there because that's a number that's 500 deals a year at $20,000 a deal. So I think it's very doable. It's very possible. I know there are other companies that do that. And, my thing right now is I'm looking at who, as far as companies and entrepreneurs, who are those people who are 10, 100, 1,000 miles ahead of me that I can replicate what they're doing now, which really led us to joining a mastermind. There's a lot of bigger entrepreneurs I'm following, and I'm just taking cues from them. Years ago, I was kind of anti-education. I was kind of, YouTubeology or whatever you want to say. Had a degree in YouTube, so I thought like, hey, I'm making, $100,000, $200,000 a year, not having any kind of education, so therefore you don't need it. But thinking now, seeing like getting coaches, getting mentors, jumping into mastermind programs, like it cuts your curve so short compared to just trying to figure it out, which is what I did. I mean, we joined our mastermind in June of this year, and we've in like 4 or 5 months, we tripled our business.
Wow.
About 2.5 of what we were doing then. And just saying like, okay, whatever we want to do is possible. And, we're now rubbing shoulders with people who are doing 150, 250, 300 deals a year. And we're taking from them and we're learning from them. And whatever they tell us to do, we're just putting it to work and doing it. There's no question about it. It's just, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just find the people who are where you want to be. Ask them questions, listen to them, and do whatever they say. And if that means you have to pay to get there, that is obviously, I mean, our mastermind is a high ticket. I mean, it's 25 grand, but I got that back in less than a month. So it's just, more than well worth it to get into stuff like that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like you, I was, when I began or started this out, I thought if I read every book, because again, I started before YouTube was around. So let's just be clear on that. But yeah, I recently attended my first mastermind, actually, based on a breakfast meeting we had, whatever it was, 3 or 4 months ago, and was equally impressed and excited just because, again, you're rubbing shoulders with, people that are sort of miles ahead of you. And maybe there's some people behind you that you can pull forward. And in real estate investing, the more you do this, it is a network, and the value of what you can bring is a network, since, our relationship is growing and the like, hence this interview. So I appreciate it. So I'm absolutely pro mastermind, pro education, but it has to be from the right people. It has to be people doing the business, right? I do get a little nervous, and it happens the most during peaks of market, which I think we're in today, of the gurus coming out, right? They've
absolutely,
maybe they've done something, 3 or 4 times, and now they're trying to sell it for $100 or $200. I think you can find the snake oil salesman and avoid those. But if you have the people with the track record and they're documented and you can see it, ask questions and listen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would very much steer newbies away from anything high ticket. I mean, even the 10, 20, 30, $50,000 program. And don't get me wrong, there are some really good low cost programs too that are $300, $500, $1,000, $1,500 that will help you get started in actually building a business, start doing deals regularly. And once you build traction, you start building a business, then being able to jump into something bigger like that, I think is phenomenally worth it.
Yeah.
I know there are Justin Williams with House Flipping HQ. There's, Cody Sperber, Sean Terry, people who have proven systems, really good testimonials. I've been students of them, and they have those introductory programs, a few $100s to maybe $1,000 or so, that for a newbie, I think is well worth it. Get in there, get your feet wet, learn as much as possible, get some deals under your belt, and then when you're ready, jump into the bigger programs.
Totally agree. So we're just about wrapping up here, but I want to make sure we give you some airtime to just sort of share with the audience here, whatever you like, whether it's, how to get a hold of you, what your perfect buyer looks like, if you want private money, whatever you want to get back, why don't you take the floor and I'll shut up.
Sure. Definitely, yeah. Well, our short-term goal right now is 10 deals a month, and we're almost there. And so we're picking up some really good properties, I mean, from single-family residences to some land. We've got some condos going. I'm now looking at, just as opportunity crosses our desk, we're looking at commercial and, like I said, apartments and stuff like that. I would really love to get connected with some more buyers. To tell you the truth, I don't really need more fix and flip buyers. Fix and flippers are a dime a dozen. But as we're moving into this more competitive market, a lot of our offers have to go up. So
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a little bit easier for us to work with those landlord, the guys who want to hold for 5 or 10 years, um, to even people who have the cash or the money or the investments that might not be getting the return you want. We also want to be able to raise more money as well for ourselves to go purchase more of these properties, and because some of these deals are really, really good deals, and I know we can provide really good returns for people to, in a sense, just sign a paper and wire funds, and X amount of months later you get a pretty good return. So we've done that, we've done that a few times and want to do that more, which I love too. So I don't just take it from a perspective of how do I make myself money. I'm looking around and being like, how can I help other people?
Yeah.
If someone who's only getting 1% in the bank, how can I help you get a much greater return than that? And the same thing, someone who's looking to get into rentals, how do I help that person get good rentals with good returns, even get them set up with good property management, and not have to go hire an agent and go pay market value for a property, because I
Yeah.
know you go market value for a property, your return is going to be much smaller, and that life cycle on that money is going to be tied up for a long time. So
Yeah.
take that perspective of who can I help, how can I help them, and can I help as many people as possible.
That is so awesome. But let's not forget the most important part. How do you want them to get a hold of you?
Okay, yeah, you can shoot me an email. That's chris@ibuyhousesfresno.com, and you can also give me a call. My cell phone is 559-593-2987. Also here on Facebook. Not always the easiest to get a hold of. If you call or text me, I will give you a call back if I can't get a hold of you. So, like I said, I do have a really busy life. So in the evenings, most of it is tied to ministry, as far as on the weekends too. And then we're here in the office basically from about 9 to 4 every day. So if you call or text and I don't answer, I will get back to you.
Yeah. And he will get back to you. I'm proof positive of that. He does follow up and get back. So I appreciate it all the time. So Chris, I want to thank you very much. This has been a tremendous interview. I think there's lots to unpack here. I really appreciate it. And I want you to have a great day. And congrats on your newest addition. You got about child number 4 on the way, I saw.
Yeah, we're about 3 months. I think we're 3 months on the way. So we're gonna have 4 kids under 3.
Woo!
So
All right,
it'll be
man.
crazy.
Take care of yourself. All right. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.